I have reviewed a load of mice from various manufacturers over the past millennia. Some of them genuinely put incredible amounts of effort into delivering you the best product possible. Others, not so much. So it's judgment time. In this video, I'm going to put all the current manufacturers whose product I've reviewed recently and rate them in everyone's favourite high effort and repeatable content format, a tier list, despite being told not to do so. There's a few restrictions to this. One, the brand needs to have been active over the past year. So there will be some omissions, mainly the more obscure Chinese brands, just because I haven't tried enough of their products to actually rate them, and some of the newer brands that have appeared over the past year that have maybe released just one mouse. Right, so let's begin. I'm going to start with an easy one, just as sort of like a bit of a measurement for everybody else. So let's start with Glorious and put these guys in the trash. Their recent releases have been rather mediocre and overpriced. The Model D and O2 Pro, the Series 2 Pro, they're mice that are using existing shells that they've already used, obviously from their original Model O2 and D2 line, but they still charge a rather high price for them. The quality on them aren't so great. Overall, they're incredibly mediocre mice. I feel like when there's such high standards set by newer brands, and that's not even including the cheaper Chinese brands, to bring out some of the mice that they have is really disappointing. The only thing that they maybe do that is good are the remodeled versions of the O2, and I don't know if the D2's been remodeled, but there's the i2 as well. Those are okay, but they are just okay. But I think in the grand scheme of things, compared to everybody else, they are probably one of the worst manufacturers out there. Next up, I'm going to do Asus ROG. All of this will be shuffled at the end, so, you know, things can change. I'm going to put them in C tier. They do make good stuff on paper, like high performance, well thought out products, but they just seem to make really questionable mistakes. Like, they have constantly seemed to want to copy Razer in terms of like designs, and also the coating is pretty much the same as some of the older Razer mice. They use that coarse matte texture, which isn't very good, but they also put engravings on the side of their mice, and they just seem to do stuff that just seems really, really silly from a manufacturer point of view. This could change with their new mice that they're releasing, so I believe they don't have engravings on the sides, but they're not out yet, so I can't pass judgment on them. But at the moment, they are C. They have potential to be a lot higher if they just didn't throw. Next up, and I think maybe the first S tier mouse for now, this is likely to change, is probably Lamzu. Lamzu are a bit strange because they look like a brand that would sell garbage. Like, when you check out their advertisements or even their product pages, you look at them and you just sort of think, this just looks really cheap and effortless, like no one's put any work into this. And you feel like that would transfer to their product, but every single mouse that I've tried on there from them has been like really good. So I'm 100% wrong on that. And yeah, their stuff is honestly just consistently great, and it's always surprising because I think, as I said, as they come across as a bit weird because they don't put effort anywhere else, there's always like this moment where I'm expecting them to trip up somewhere, but they still haven't. So I'd put them in S at the moment. Next up, I'm going to do Endgame Gear. I'm going to put them here. I might change this. Again, this isn't final, so, you know, don't write out your angry comment yet. But I think Endgame Gear make really good high performance products. I love the fact that they make a wired and wireless version, but I don't like the fact that they are literally just making two shells and that's it. They've made the XM1 or XM2 shell for years now, and the OP18K just looks like it's heading in the same direction. For me to consider them to be an S tier brand, they'd have to release like more variations of their products, like more shapes, more variety. Because personally, just making two models is, if you know, if they do them perfectly, fine. But I feel like to not do anything outside of that is a bit, doesn't make you a great company. I could change this, but for now, they're in A tier. Next up is Cherry Extrafy. I might change this as well, but for now they're in B. I think consistently, like, they've been a brand that has innovated quite a bit. They've always brought out different shapes compared to everybody else, even though some of them are really weird, like the Zyrail. Even their earlier mice were pretty decent. Was it the M42? Something like that. They had removable backs. So then you could change the hump shape a bit, which was pretty neat. The latest mice, which apparently the scroll wheel issue that I experienced has now been fixed, I think are just really great. They're rather unique designs, and it's just something that we don't really see anymore. We see just sort of like the same mice being made over and over again, but they've actually come out and made newish shapes that are different and are still comfortable. If it wasn't for the scroll wheel issues, I would highly recommend those mice. Those have been fixed, so I will put that criticism to one side and trust those that have told me this. But I really hope that they don't go silent and they keep on bringing out new mice and new products, because I think they could definitely bring some interest into a rather stagnant market, I'd say. Next up, I'm going to do Ponage, and I'm going to put them in D tier. These guys kind of fall into the same categories as a lot of other companies, where they essentially just make like one mouse shape or two, or just like maybe three, and just remake those over and over again. I think for me, what Ponage did at the earlier start, where they made like the Ambi and the Sim mice that you could change the backs of and customize a bit, they were a lot more interesting then. They're newer mice, the magnesium, there's a carbon fiber one. Like, they're just the same shape as everything else, like an EC2 clone. And then there's the other one, which is just a Viper Mini clone. You know, yeah, they're made out of cool materials, but they don't really offer that much. I guess like the only thing that they've really got going for them is the adjustable sensor positioning. Apart from that, they just seem to just do the same thing again. And they also seem to be a company that is now moving on to another thing, which I'll bring up quite often: releases that exploit FOMO by releasing unique colorways and collaborations. And again, it's kind of, you know, they're just getting too comfortable. They're just using the partial brand name that they've built to sell poor quality, well, not poor quality, but the same products over and over again. Really, I just want to see more from them that actually matches the promise that they showed at the start with, in terms of innovation. Next up is Keychron. I'm going to put them into B for now. They just make cheap gaming mice with a variety of different shapes. You've got your fingertip grip mice, your claw grip mice, the massive ergos. I think they do a vertical mouse as well with 8,000 hertz polling rate. It's insane. They are the highest quality. It's high performance and a unique design in terms of what other stuff we have on the market, with acceptable quality. It could be better, but they're also cheap. They're very affordable. So I am a fan of what they do. They offer a exciting and different alternative to people at a respectable price. Next up is Ninjutsu. Now I'm going to put them in D as well, because it's the same thing as Ponage, really. They started out as a promising company. They brought out the Origin 1X, a fantastic ergonomic mouse, and then the Katana Superlight, which was a great mouse with a magnetic charging port, which I wasn't a fan of, but, you know, it was new. And then since then, they've just brought out Soras, and they've done nothing since apart from remake one mouse. And they struggled to release an 8,000 hertz dongle. It's a shame to see them this low, but even though the Sora is a great mouse, as a company, I feel like they're practically dead. I'll move on to some of the big ones now. So Razer, I think, are definitely S tier. I feel like when they make an expensive product or release their flagship, they will at least put effort into making you feel like you have gotten an upgrade over what you've previously gotten. So going from a Viper V2 Pro to a Viper V3 Pro, it is a noticeable upgrade and improvement on quality, the coating, the feel of the mouse, the skates as well. Everything has been improved, and I feel like they are the company that puts the most effort into making you feel like you've got value for money. Not everybody does. Furthermore, they also offer cheaper alternatives as well, which is great. So all of their flagships have a hyperspeed version, which is a more cost-efficient option, which I really like. Overall, I'm a fan of what they do. They don't seem to just upgrade their mice because they can. It does seem like a case of they will upgrade their mouse when they feel like they can offer you a decent upgrade. Next one is going to be WL Mouse, and I'm going to put them in A, even though I'm not particularly convinced. They might drop down actually, but even though I'm not particularly convinced by magnesium, I feel like they are the only company that's made me at least feel a noticeable difference over and improvement over ABS plastic. Every single mouse that I've tried of theirs, haven't tried their carbon forged one apart from the keyboard, but we're not doing keyboards, this is just gaming mice. I feel like the magnesium alloys are actually pretty well done, and the mice feel very well made and very high quality. They do put engravings on their mice, which are annoying, but at the moment, I feel like for what they do in terms of creating magnesium mice, and they do a good job of making them feel high quality. And in comparison to the Stormbreaker that I used, you know, they do show that they have a significant improvement over some of the others. I think next up is going to be Pulsar, and I'm going to put them in C for now. Pulsar could easily be one of the biggest peripheral companies, but I feel like they're again getting caught in the same trap as some of the other smaller manufacturers, where they just release the same few mouse shells that they've always made. I really want them to make something unique, a new design that only they have come up with. Collaborations don't count, because I'm not a fan of collaborations, as that just seems to be a marketing ploy to get people to buy your product. I want them to bring out a series of mice that they have made from the ground up and aren't clones of what they've previously made or from other mice. I feel like these guys can go into two ways. They can either become known as one of the best peripheral brands out there, or they can possibly, I feel like, just become sort of an influencer company where they rely on, you know, FOMO, unique colorways and collaborations to sell their products. And I feel like anyone can do that, but not everyone can consistently make brand new and exciting products. It does look like they're changing though, because I believe they made that fingertip grip mouse, which looks pretty cool. So if they make more of that stuff and less of the same stuff that they've been doing, like the same X2 shapes or the same X-Lite shapes from years gone, then they can definitely be S tier. I'm going to do some of the, I think, the better ones, and then we'll leave with some of the rut. Vaxi, I think Vaxi and Zowie are S tier. Both of them, they're very similar to each other. What I like about these companies is that they will come out with shapes that are designed specifically for a purpose. So their shapes aren't like a one size fits all. It's a shape that will, and they'll both advertise it as, if you hold your mouse in this way, this shape will be perfect for you. And, you know, they'll explain why. I think these kind of traits are one of the most important parts for gaming mice, because at the end of the day, and in my experience, you perform the best when you're comfortable, and these mice, I feel like, are made to be comfortable, and I think that's why a lot of people choose them. When they, you know, release a product, so for example with Zowie and their U2, and they go, okay, so this is how some people hold their mice. Some of the current mice that they might be using can be detrimental to how they hold it, and this is a product, and we will show you why this may be superior over other options. And I feel like that is just a great way of advertising stuff, because it at least provides some upfront honesty onto why it was designed for. And it's a case of just going, well, if you don't hold your mouse like this, then it might not be comfortable. And then they have many other options for you to choose from. I think the same applies to Vaxi as well. Both of these, I think maybe Vaxi are a little bit more unique in the way that they will just upgrade their mice whenever they want. I'm actually just gonna move Vaxi down And I think it's just because I want them, instead of responding to current trends, I want them to kind of like set them instead, sort of like set the benchmark instead of responding to the benchmark, if that makes sense. I know that Zowie do that as well, but they have been trendsetters. They have set a standard previously, and I still think that they do in terms of the variety and the designs that they bring out, whereas I want Vaxi to kind of do the same to be considered one of the best. Now it's time for the 3 most interesting ones. Final Mouse. Absolute trash. They make one shape. They've made practically, which they've made for like years, and they still get it wrong. I mean, credit to them that they try new stuff and make it out of new materials. But to me, it feels like one person is sort of going, oh, we should try and make it out of this. And I imagine that the people, like, he's probably just got loads of yes men around him that's like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. But behind their back, they're like, this is going to be a disaster. Because for them to have, like, they've been around for a long time. This isn't some sort of like new independent company. For them to be around for this long in mouse manufacturing and bring out the disaster of the Ultralight X is just insane. Personally, I really thought that they would change when they said they were going to bring out the Ultralight X in continuous production. Then that obviously didn't. Then there was the Ultralight X competition, which is the replacement, which is now no longer purchasable. And now they've gone back into limited colorways with collaborations with, you know, whoever is available. Absolute garbage. Next up, Logitech. I don't think I need to say anything more. Watch my recent video if you want. Same thing applies. It's just a company that is just stuck making one mouse. I think like the only benefit that you get from a Logitech mouse is a rather consumer-friendly warranty support and the fact that it's available in some retail stores. Apart from that, they've completely pooped it. G-Wolves. So I'm ending with them because they're just like the most bizarre mouse manufacturer, but also I cannot deny that I'm incredibly invested in what they bring out. To me, I think like they are the company that Final Mouse kind of wishes they were, because these guys are actual innovators, even though they have an awful customer service pipeline and everything that involves post-sales is like incredibly hit and miss. But their products are genuinely interesting because they're always insanely light. They push the limits on anything and everything. They have terrible box art with AI on it. You get like so much rubbish with your mouse, it is insane. When I held the most recent mice, I've never been like more like, what the hell is this? Because it's just so light, it's just jarring. I do think there is a limit. I do think G-Wolves are approaching that, especially in terms of them being made out of plastic. But I cannot deny that they at least try and push everybody else further. They haven't hit that mark where they have made something like groundbreakingly good that everybody needs to copy them, but at least they're trying to get to that point. A lot of other companies are just rather stagnant. They're willing to just like go for the safest route, whereas these guys will do something completely bizarre, even if it makes no sense. At the end of the day, they are what makes doing this rather interesting. My mind on them will constantly flip between never buy their products to you should try their products. It's always going to be that way, and I'm happy to have that mindset with them. And at the same time, I'm always incredibly interested in everything that they announce. So a last check on my tier list. I think my S tiers are fine. My A tier, I'm going to move WL Mouse down just because they keep on putting engravings on their mice. I might put, I don't know, G-Wolves, really I should have had another tier, so there's like bang, slap in the middle. I'm putting them into C for now, just because I still got leftover garbage from the last 2 mice that they sent me. Keychron, I'm completely fine with that. Cherry Extra Fire, I'm fine with. Endgame Gear, I'm fine with. And Vaxi, I'm fine with. Asus ROG, definitely C. Pulsar, definitely C. Pony Ninjutsu, both D, clearly. The trash, 100% locked in on that. So I think that's it. I think I'm kind of happy with my tier list. Bear in mind, everybody, that, you know, this is all from the top of my head. Put as much thought as I can in a, 25 to 30 minute video. And remember, if you disagree with me, I don't care. I really don't. But I'm happy with my tier list. Let me know what you think, I guess.